Dispatch has completely taken everyone by storm. Critics, bloggers, and gamers alike are already hailing it as a masterpiece in the interactive fiction genre. This dispatcher simulator puts you in charge of a team of superheroes who used to be villains. They're trying their best to walk the straight and narrow, but those old habits die hard. You, as the main character, have to find a way to connect with them, all while trying to restore your own reputation. See, you used to be a famous hero yourself, but you lost everything after a crushing defeat to your arch-nemesis. Many players are pointing out that the plot sometimes feels reminiscent of the show Invincible, and honestly, that comparison is pretty spot on, especially with the stylish, cartoony visuals. So, it finally happened, and episodes 3 and 4 of Dispatch are out. I've been waiting for Dispatch for ages, and the game itself, an interactive movie from Adhoc Studio, has been on my radar. And get this, Adhoc is basically made up of Telltale veterans. Yeah, those guys. The ones who dropped legendary titles like The Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderlands, and The Walking Dead. And now they've even teamed up with Critical Role. For those not in the know, that's a crew of voice actors who started a show, posting their D&D sessions on YouTube. And for the main character's voice, they snagged none other than Aaron Paul, the Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. So, imagine how I felt. For someone who's familiar with all those projects I just listed, the announcement of this game sounded like something I'd always dreamed of but never even realized. But the last few years have taught me a simple truth. If something in game dev sounds too good to be true, it's time to get a little suspicious. Unfortunately, more often than not, these projects either don't live up to the hype or just never see the light of day. However, on May 29th, they dropped a demo on Steam. I played it, and it instantly wiped away all my doubts. I was completely and irrevocably sold on this project, with zero questions about its quality or whether it would actually launch. And finally, on October 22nd, the first 2 episodes hit, and then 2 more dropped on the 29th. Did they live up to my hopes, or did I relax too soon? Let's break it down. The story kicks off with a psychotherapy session where the main character, Robert Robertson, is being grilled about his love for his father. After his answer, he, rather characteristically, starts bleeding from his nose. And then we're shown that, in reality, he's been chatting with some thug, trying to squeeze out the location of his father's killer. It's a pretty funny twist, but we'll come back to that. Anyway, Robert manages to shake the location out of the scoundrel, after which he slips on his superhero tights and heads off for revenge. Battling through security, he bumps into the same goon, who turns out to be one of the supervillain's henchmen. And in the ensuing brawl, it turns out the whole thing was a trap. Just when it seems our hero is making a last-ditch escape, we see a bomb attached to his armor. The explosion completely wrecks the supersuit, and Robert, in his armor, plummets from the sky, falling into a coma. After some time, the main character wakes up. His superhero career seems utterly and irrevocably over, but then he gets an offer from some super blonde to become the man in the chair for a team of superheroes made up of former villains, in exchange for funding and help fixing his armor. That's the gist of the setup, and even on paper, it sounds damn intriguing. The first 2 episodes are exceptionally well written. The story is incredibly captivating. The characters feel really alive, and the humor is high quality and smart. So far, I don't see Dispatch trying to be another dreary deconstruction of the genre, which honestly, I'm pretty sick of. Right now, it's just an excellent comedy in a superhero setting that builds on a simple but important idea. Any superperson, hero, or villain is first and foremost a human. And people are complex beings. They have their own feelings, qualities, motivations, and hang-ups that determine their actions. And, most importantly, people can change. At least that's already evident in the concept itself and in what we see in the first 4 episodes. And that, in fact, is the secret to good deconstruction. It's not about tearing the genre apart, but about seeing super people primarily as people, not as heroes and villains, not as ideals to imitate or a bunch of marginal psychos, but as ordinary people with their strengths and weaknesses, as complex, contradictory personalities. That's why no one has deconstructed the genre better than its own representatives, and no one ever will. And something tells me the folks behind The Wolf Among Us understand this perfectly. I hope the subsequent episodes can maintain the bar set by the first 4. Stepping away from the plot and characters, you can't ignore the fantastic humor, especially the situational kind. The psychotherapy twist is a prime example. In a retelling, of course, it's not funny or even amusing, but that's always how jokes are. I sat there playing with a goofy grin on my face, and a couple of times I even laughed out loud. From a gameplay perspective, we're looking at classic interactive cinema with sprinkles of a very simplified version of Disco Elysium-like mechanics. So you have a map with crimes marked on it, and after getting the lowdown on the situation, you need to send the most suitable operative to the call. I'll probably stay quiet about the visuals.